Hello again, everybody. Welcome into Gamecock Central Radio. Time for Gamecock Baseball Report. Emerson Phillips joined by Scott Hood. And Scott, a huge road sweep for the Gamecocks over a top 10 opponent this past weekend. First sweep of a top 10 team by the Gamecocks on the road since 2010. And that happened to be a year that the Gamecocks won the national championship. So we don't want to book reservations for Omaha just yet, but a big weekend for Gamecock baseball.
Yeah, Emerson, anytime you can go on the road in the SEC and sweep, that is a major plus sign next to your name as the year progresses. Because at this point, in my opinion, when the Gamecocks go to Vanderbilt this week, starting Thursday, they're playing with house money, in my opinion, based on their sweeps over Arkansas and over Ole Miss. So, I mean, not only is it difficult to sweep a team at home, I mean, you rarely see teams sweep on the road in this league. And if you had asked Chad Holbrook before the series if he thought his team was going to go to Oxford and sweep Ole Miss, he probably told you, said, no, we'll just take winning the series. And they certainly did that, and they certainly did that in convincing fashion. If you look at the box scores, I think on the 27 innings, I think they only trailed in 2 innings. So, and they shut down the Ole Miss offense the last 2 games, except for that those 3 runs in the 9th inning that they got in the second game when they came back from the 9-2 to make it 9-5. They virtually shut down the Ole Miss offense the last 2 games. So just an outstanding job by the Gamecock pitching staff, and they got plenty of clutch hits as well to score the run. So overall, very, very impressive performance. I don't think anyone predicted that USC was going to go to Oxford and sweep, but certainly they'll take it. And now they move on to a huge series against in Nashville against Vanderbilt this week.
All right, the Gamecocks won 5-1 over Ole Miss on Thursday night. Clark Schmidt, the winning pitcher, now 6-0 on the year. Gamecocks beat Ole Miss 9-5 on Friday. Braden Webb, huge performance for him. Scott, 8+ innings of work, 14 strikeouts. That's the most by a Gamecock pitcher since Billy Buckner back in 2004.
Yeah, no, I think we saw in that game what Braden Webb is capable of doing. No, I think he struggled a little bit with his control here in the early going, but he really put it all together in that game. So, I was thinking about it, watching these games over the weekend. I was thinking, remember, Clark Schmidt's only a sophomore, Braden Webb's a freshman, and Adam Hill's a freshman. So, of course, Braden Webb, of course, being 21, is draft eligible. But if he comes back and you add Will Crow to that group, that's going to be. They've got South Carolina's got the makings for a sensational weekend rotation here moving forward for the next couple of years. So this is going to be interesting to see how it all plays out. But certainly, pitching definitely carried the Gamecocks this weekend for the most part. They did have some good hitting too, but it looks like that the trio of Schmidt, Webb, and Hill are really putting it together at this point in time, and because of that, I do give them a chance to go to Nashville and give Vanderbilt all they want and come out with a series win.
All right, it was 17 in a row set down at one point by Braden Webb in that Friday win over Ole Miss, and Chris Kellum went 3 for 5 with a couple of runs knocked in. Dom Thompson-Williams had 2 hits. Gene Cone, Marcus Mooney also with 2 hits, and L.T. Tolbert knocked in 2 runs. And then it was Adam Hill, the winning pitcher, in the 4-0 Gamecock win on Saturday. 6 scoreless innings of work for Hill. The Gamecocks scored 3 runs in the first inning of that ball game. Hill now 5-0 on the year. And Tyler Johnson picked up the save. Scott, we haven't talked enough, I think, about the Gamecock bullpen. Josh Reagan, Tyler Johnson doing a great job out of the pen.
Josh Reagan has been lights out of the bullpen. So right now, 19 innings, only 9 hits, no runs allowed, with 16 strikeouts. So he's got 7 saves. So he's developing into the closer that Chad Holbrook was hoping to get. One thing I noticed, look at the numbers. Ole Miss had 23 hits in the series. 20 of them were singles. They only had 3 extra base hits the entire series. They were all doubles, so no triples, no home runs at all for the Rebels. So overall, the Gamecock pitching staff just did an outstanding job. And of course, you give credit not to the 3 starters, but also to the bullpen. They just the bullpen right now has been one of the bright spots for this team this year so far. Guys like Reagan and Tyler Johnson, guys that maybe perhaps that came out of left field a little bit. I'm not sure anyone was talking about Tyler Johnson when the season started, but certainly he's done the job so far.
All right, T.J. Hopkins had a couple hits in Game 3, and Alex Destino had a first-inning double in Game 3 that extended his hitting streak to 17 games. Destino now batting .343 on the year, Scott. So the Gamecocks will take on College of Charleston Tuesday night this week. Home game, 7 o'clock first pitch at Founders Park. And then you already talked a little bit about the Vandy series. That'll be in Nashville this coming weekend. Actually, Thursday, Friday, Saturday again this weekend, Scott, for the second weekend in a row. It'll be at Vandy.
Yeah, it will be. This weekend, as Chad Holbrook pointed out last week, the Ole Miss series was Thursday, Friday, Saturday because the two teams agreed not to play on Easter. But the Vanderbilt series is Thursday, Friday, Saturday because of TV. You know, the ESPN has the television package, the Thursday night TV package with ESPNU. Thursday night's game is going to be on ESPNU, and I think one of the other games is going to be on the SC network. So that's the reason why it's Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So, but it's going to be a very interesting series. South Carolina, number one. I remember when I think 2 trips ago went in there international and beat the Commodores in the series. So they've had good success there historically in the past. So it's going to be a very tough series. Good solid pitching on both sides. I think both sides are in the top 3 or 4 in the SEC in an in-run average. So it's going to be a battle of 2 very strong pitching staffs. Again, I'm looking at probably a lot of close, hard-fought, low-scoring games. So again, it's going to come down to which team makes the fewest errors, and takes advantage of those, runners in scoring position with less than 2 out situations that crop up during the game. So those are the type of things they'll win your game. So again, it's going to be in my opinion, going to be a great series. Probably at this point in time, probably the 2 best teams in the SEC right now, based on how things have unfolded in the early going. Vanderbilt was coming off the sweep over Missouri on the road too, so they're feeling pretty good about themselves as well too. So it's going to be a great series.
All right, Thursday at 8 on ESPNU at Vanderbilt in Game 1. Friday, first pitch set for 7:30 on the SEC Network Plus, and then Saturday, 3 o'clock start on the SEC Network. So let's talk about the SEC for a moment here, Scott. Gamecocks 6-0 in SEC play for the first time ever, and Vanderbilt swept Missouri. They're 4-2 in conference play. Kentucky took 2 out of 3 from Florida. So all 3 of those teams, Vandy, Florida, and Kentucky, are 2 games in back of the Gamecocks after 2 weekends.
Yeah, Emerson, you want to talk. You want to see how special that sweep was at Ole Miss. Florida went to Kentucky and lost 2 out of 3, and they're the number 1 team in the country going into that series. So, and this probably not be number 1 this week. That shows just how dangerous playing on the road is in the SEC. You just don't know what's going to happen. As a result, even a team like Kentucky can rise up and beat you in their home ballpark. As I've said many times, both regardless of sport, whether it's football, baseball, basketball, or any of the Olympic sports, going on the road, the SEC, and trying to win is probably one of the most difficult things to do in all college sports, because every team defends their home field or court with passion. The fans show up and support their teams. They're loud and they're proud, and it's just very, very difficult to go on the road and win this league. That's one thing that Frank Martin said he has learned about being in the SEC. Just how difficult it is to go win on the road, and it's true because the fans are so into it, and schools are so locked in to defending their home turf that it becomes very, very difficult to crack that. So, and Florida found that out this past weekend, going up to Kentucky.
They sure did.
So, I think right now you look at the standings. South Carolina's got a 2-game lead in the overall standings.
Right.
They're 6-0, and then the second place team is 4-2. So to have a 2-game lead at this point, that's pretty good. That means you're done doing something right through the first 2 series. So that's tough to do after only 6 games to have a 2-game lead. So now the question is, can South Carolina sustain momentum and keep it up? Because if they can somehow go to Nashville and win this series against the Commodores, then they're set up very nicely, man. Because after that, the next 3 series are Tennessee at home, at Georgia, and then Missouri at home, which is, in my opinion, are 3 very winnable series. 2 of the 3 being at home. So they could be headed for a very special season if they can somehow go to Nashville and win this series.
Right, and on the other side of the coin, you know that Vanderbilt, even though we're still very early in the conference schedule, they've got to be feeling a sense of urgency this weekend, getting the Gamecocks in their building and 2 games back in the standings. Vandy needs this series in a big way.
Every team in the SEC plays with a sense of urgency when they're playing at home. So that's just the way it is in this league.
We invite you to download the free phone apps that allow you to listen to Gamecock Central Radio on your phone. We've got an iPhone app and an Android app, and we're also on iTunes. Just search Gamecock Central Radio for all three. Scott Hood joining me, Emerson Phillips, for a Gamecock baseball report. Gamecocks up to number 1 in the RPI. I see Scott with this sweep of Ole Miss this weekend, so the Gamecock schedule's been tough, and the Gamecocks have been red hot sweeping the last 2 opponents. Man, great start to the conference year for Chad Holbrook and this Gamecock baseball club.
Well, they certainly deserve to be number 1 in RPI. You know, they've had 3 series against Clemson, Arkansas, and Ole Miss, and I don't think any team in the country has faced a more difficult start to their conference season. So, in my opinion, the Gamecocks deserve to be number 1 in the RPI the way they're going right now.
Couldn't ask for a better start, Scott. We appreciate your time and your insight. Thanks as always.
Thanks. Thank you very much.
All right, that's Scott Hood, and I'm Emerson Phillips. We appreciate you joining us for Gamecock Baseball Talk here on Gamecock Central Radio.